So we've got this Yuletide Titan event going on in game where the final reward on milestone 5 is 2,000 snow points, they're calling it, and we are going to be able to acquire the champion Tormin the Cold if we can get enough points required in the just over 3 weeks this is going to be live. So I kind of wanted to talk about, is this something that most players should be pursuing? Is Tormin worth it, and all that kind of stuff that goes into the discussion. So if you're not familiar with Tormin, if you weren't here like in the back early days of Raid, he was introduced as one of the first holiday season champions they did. I believe in the winter of 2019, he was a fusion event that went on where you had to get a bunch of different champions and then fuse into Tormin back in the day. And the goal that Plarium was trying to achieve when they added Tormin to the game is, like, basically back then the arena meta was just everybody uses Arbiter and then a debuffer and then a nuker, and if you had good enough champions you could also have a buff strip, and they actually added Madame Saris to the game, and she was so good because she did AoE buff strip and defense break, so she would fill 2 of those roles back in the early days of the Raid PvP meta. So when they saw that every single team was doing the same exact thing and it was kind of boring, Plarium tried to introduce Tormin to throw it off, because you could bring Tormin into the arena, and now if they just do that boring style of boost up and then nuke you down, Tormin's going to freeze them all and they're not going to be able to nuke you down. And when they added him to the game, he was insanely strong. He basically completely ruined all of those teams. They've adjusted him probably 3 or 4 times in the last 3 years, and then he's gotten to a point where he's a good counter for those teams, but he's not as like broken as he was back then in the context of Raid when he first got added. And I want to show you my Tormin and talk about him within the context of the game, but I do also want to let you know really quick, we're having a fun poker tournament that's going to be starting like in the next 3 hours after me releasing this video. So I'm going to link down below if you want to be a part of hanging out with some of us in the Fateless crew, Hell Hades and me. I'll be in voice chat playing poker. It's free to play, and we're going to have prizes up for grabs if you're looking for something fun to participate in and play some cards. We've already got like 60 or 70 people sign up for this. It's going to be a good time, and I'll link to it down below if you want to be a part of that. But anyway, Tormin, I still use him on my account. You'll use him less and less as you get to the end game maybe, but I think especially if you're early game or mid game, he is really fun to have because you can still suppress a lot of those teams even in like the live arena. If they're bringing an Arbiter, all of a sudden you bring in Tormin, they're going to be scared and they're going to want to ban him because they're not going to want to deal with the RNG of getting frozen and all that. And he's a good champion to have on your account if you don't have him, because he brings something new. He kind of has a scarcity factor to him where he does something interesting that isn't super common in the game. Like, he's not just a nuker, he's not just a buff strip, he's not just gonna be a healer. He kind of brings that role that isn't super commonly covered in Raid. So he is in a pretty good place, even though he's not technically like a super god to your champion. He is one that everybody kind of wants on their account just as an option. And it's kind of reflected in the polling. If I pull that up over there on the right side, I hosted this morning. It's actually getting a lot of votes and comments really fast. We're already at almost 1,000 votes, and I just put this up at like within an hour ago. So I've got like, are you going to be going for completing the Tormin event that's going on in the month of December? We've got a 60-40 ratio, which is pretty good. You know, sometimes with events like this, you'll see like a 10, 20 something percent participation rate. So you can see a lot of those people that don't have Tormin, they're going to at least try to go for it during these events. And then probably a good chunk of that 40% that doesn't want to go for him is probably people that already have him, or they've been playing long enough to have done the fusion back in the day, and they're like, you know what, I've got my one Tormin, I'm good. It's not worth the 3-week grind to go after an empowerment level or having a second Tormin. I'm just going to go ahead and save up for the fusion. I did see that sentiment down below a little bit, because we're probably going to be getting some sort of holiday fusion. They've always done one every holiday season since Raid came out, and Tormin was actually one of those champions, one of the first ones that they did for a holiday fusion. We'll probably get that announced here within the next week or two for a new fragment or fusion kind of holiday event going on. And as far as actually finishing the event, it's not going to be super easy. I mean, if you go under the Tormin event that's going on, you have to get to 2,000 points. And a lot of these events are maybe only going to have like 30 in them. Like, there's a tournament going on right now, and it's got the tab there you see where it's denoted that it's part of the Yuletide. 3,800 points here to get the 30 points towards the progression of Tormin. That's only 30 out of 2,000. So you know, obviously a lot of these are going to be tied to the summoning stuff that's going on. Like if I pull up the summon rush right here, part of the Yuletide, and you get down here to, what is this, 2350, you get 100, so that's more than triple than the spider. The summoning stuff is always going to be more impactful because obviously Plarium wants you to be pulling your shards. But even then, I mean, you got to get all the way down to 4100 to get 300 Yuletide points. And that's what, like 12, 13, 14% of the way there on getting the full 2,000. You do get 3 weeks, so it's probably going to be not the most difficult thing that Plarium's ever done in terms of an event to finish, but it's not going to be like a free tournament or anything. It is going to take a pretty decent grind and paying attention to this to probably get in. But another thing to make sure you consider in this is going to your Guardian Ring and then looking at your faction Guardians and going to Dwarves. And if you're not full on this, if you do have a Tormin that would allow you to go ahead and pop him in here as a second one, getting that 10 speed on all of your dwarves, or even just another progression in your dwarf guardians, may be worth kind of giving the 3-week grind and effort and something to kind of take note of. So if you, I would say it makes the most sense for people that don't have Tormin, or if you do have Tormin and you're not full on your dwarf faction guardians, then for those 2 accounts, it would really probably want to at least go for it and see how you're doing over the next week or 2. But you do want to stay cognizant of the fact that if Plarium releases a really good holiday fusion, you don't want to screw yourself over and get to a point where now doing the fusion is not an option for you. Because, like, you know what you're going to be getting with Tormin, but you don't know yet if they're going to do a fusion and if it's going to be good. And so there's a little bit more upside on holding off a little bit and waiting to do a holiday fusion if they release a really good champion behind that. And I'm going to work on releasing probably an updated champion guide on a Tormin and showcasing kind of the way that I play him and dive into some matches and do like an updated infographic and all that sort of stuff. But while we're here, let's see if there's any good packs heading into the weekend. Purchase them at 3-2. Not going to be it. 5-5. Not going to be it. I'm just looking if there's anything like noteworthy here. Normal mini mixes. Okay. The shard triple. Yeah, no, okay, the chain, this one here, purchase them at 5, divine life, okay, so not really seeing anything super, like above average in terms of value here to really look out for in the shop. But yeah, I am going to head off to play in the poker tournament that we've got going on over on the Fate with server. I'll link to it down below. And if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and DM me and I'll help you get signed up. It's just going to be a fun time to play some cards and hang out. And then the top few finishers are going to win some prizes over there as well. So I appreciate all of you. Remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Rage of the Legends content. And I'll see you soon. Peace.